Suffering is like a gateway to your awakening. What's up, soul family? It's another day on Starship Earth, and we're sending gratitude into the cosmos. So how do we awaken through pain and suffering? I just wanted to touch on this subject in this video because I know a lot of people are going through this right now, or they've gone through it in the past. Now, of course, suffering is not the only gateway to awakening. It's not the only thing that can trigger your awakening. There's other ways, of course, but I can tell you that some of my most profound breakthroughs or transformations came right after a period of pain and suffering or emotional upheaval. And what comes to mind when I think of that is when I first had my Kundalini awakening. It was in a time in my life where I was feeling really lost. All I really did was play video games. I've told you guys about this before, but I didn't really have anything that really felt fulfilling to me, and all my hobbies started to feel really mundane and boring. So this feeling of lack of purpose really drove me to start looking within, because I then had the space to actually start looking within. Because when everything starts falling away within and outside of yourself, this brings you to that 0 point energy. The 0 point energy, the void. I was feeling a deep sense of apathy at the time because I just felt like something was missing inside of my life. And I know a lot of people on earth are feeling this lack right now. But instead of looking within, they're looking outside of themselves to fulfill this void. But that's only a temporary fulfillment. It's temporary. And for me at the time, I felt like I had nothing else to turn to. Nothing outside of myself to fill this void, because I knew it wasn't working anymore. So I was forced to look within, to look inside this void. And inside this space, there was something calling to me. This little glimmer of light was calling to me. And that's when my Kundalini was awakened, and my life started changing after that point. Because I followed that glimmer of light. I followed that divine calling to my soul. And this also happened earlier in life, just not to the same extent. I was about 16 years old and I went through a breakup with a girl, the first girl I fell in love with. And of course I was taking it pretty hard. I remember a lot of feelings of abandonment, betrayal, and just a bunch of insecurities were coming up at the time. And I laid in bed for the next 2 weeks. I didn't want to eat. I was just in this deep depression. But during this deep depression time and afterwards, I started really seeking the truth about this world. I started looking into conspiracies. I started practicing lucid dreaming, and I was lucid dreaming almost every night. So this was like a mini awakening for me at the time. I went through a little breakthrough after a period of suffering because I had the space again to look within. This was around 2012, and I wasn't yet spiritually aware, but I definitely went through a mini awakening because I was discovering things about myself and the world around me. And the years after, I went through a period of distracting myself from these things, from this void within myself. But I always ended up feeling it. It wasn't until I moved that I got space from everybody, and this eventually led to my spiritual awakening. You see, we have to go through sort of a transmutation process. Just like the diamond forms under pressure, we also go through the same sort of pressure and transformation. Because the deeper we are in the dirt, the more uncomfortable and the more resistance we are feeling, the more pressure we are feeling, this ends up leading to the surrender of our own ego, because we've had enough of all this pressure, and then our ego surrenders. We start accepting and facing these emotions within ourselves, And then we go through a profound breakthrough and awakening by accepting and surrendering to the divine, to the emotions within ourselves. I couldn't tell you how many times I have cried and bawled my eyes out during my awakening. It happened a lot more during the first years because most of my life growing up, I suppressed a lot of my emotions. I always hid my emotions from others and myself because we're programmed to do that, especially as men. So when I started having this divine energy pushing these emotions up, I was experiencing so many different feelings. So many different emotions were pouring out of me. And this was very deep and was coming from my childhood. I could feel my inner child coming through. And this is a very deep healing process for us when we are feeling the things from our past that we suppressed. I was releasing so many burdens and emotions from myself. And it actually felt pretty good afterwards, although it was very dark and uncomfortable at the time. Because I didn't really fully know what was happening to me. That's why I want to help guide others and let them know what they are going through in this process. One thing that I remember that would happen to me after my Kundalini awakening is that I would get on this online spiritual chat called the Spirit Science Chat. And I would ask a bunch of questions because I was so confused and curious on what was happening to me and what was to come on my path. I remember I cried a lot during those times because I felt so lost and confused on what my purpose was. I wanted to know so badly what my purpose was and what the purpose of this existence is. I mean, now that I think about it, I guess I was going through what you call an existential crisis. I was so confused on what our purpose as human beings, as spiritual beings living the human experience, what our purpose was on this earth. Was there a purpose? Did I have a purpose? Did I have a gift to share with the world? That's what I truly wanted to know. But basically, these times where I went through what felt like a tough time at the time, an emotional time, these times really led me to the answers I was seeking within. Every time I went through a deep purge and I let go of a lot of old pain from the past, this opened me up to experiencing more love and bliss within myself. The love that I felt from my heart after these times, the love and bliss that I was able to experience. I'll always be grateful for the pain and suffering that I went through, for the lessons that I learned. It opened me up to experiencing so much more magic in this life. I was experiencing synchronicity, communication with spirit, communication with my higher self. So this is why I'm grateful for the lessons that I went through and the lessons that I continue to go through. Because what suffering does when you choose to face it instead of avoid it and distract yourself from it, is it shows you the deepest parts of yourself. It shows you the deep feelings, your truest feelings within yourself. It shows you the feelings that are within your subconscious. These dark parts of yourself that have been neglected. You were finally able to face these things, look at them, and accept them and show them compassion. Because when you do this, you are sending love to every part of yourself. You're showing love to your inner child, showing love to your masculine and your feminine sides, sending love to your mother and father that may have caused you pain in your childhood. It's like taking the mask off of your true self. Because we often hide things from our own self. We hide our true feelings. Because when we are a child, when we experience something traumatic or something deeply emotional that we couldn't process at the time, we suppress these things and then end up having to heal them later in life. And a lot of people don't even realize this. They don't even realize that they're holding on to so much pain and burdens. And this shows up physically, this shows up mentally, and this shows up spiritually. It shows up in different parts of our bodies and organs. because our mind, body, and souls are deeply connected. So if one is affected, all three are affected simultaneously. And this is why we can heal ourselves by healing our mind, healing our body, and this deepens your connection to spirit, to the divine. The more we become attuned to our mind and our body, the more we become attuned to spirit. This is powerful to realize how much we can heal ourselves and help heal each other. These emotions will inevitably be triggered in life by relationships, other people, or situations. They will be triggered. But we as beings with free will and awareness, we have the choice to either distract ourselves from these things and avoid them, or face our emotions, accept them, and ultimately transcend this pain. I still have to make this choice sometimes. I still have to make the choice to sit with myself and accept these feelings that are flowing through me. Now that I have the awareness, it's a lot easier because I can tell when I'm trying to distract or avoid a feeling within myself. But I can always feel when I have an emotion that needs to be released, because I will often feel irritable or tense within myself. My body will tell me when I need to release an emotion. It will show up in my head and my stomach. It shows up in different parts of your body when you need to release energy, because that's what emotions are. Your emotions are energy. So listen to your body and become attuned to it so you can understand your own phases and cycles, when you need to release, when you need to feel something. Usually my body gets physically tired when I need to release some emotions, because that's my body telling me I need to take some downtime, take some rest, and really feel the energy and let it flow through. And that's when I'll go out in nature, go out in Mother Nature and nurture myself and let myself be nurtured by Mother Earth. I'll put my feet in the water and just feel whatever emotion is coming up. And this really helps the emotions flow. This water helps me push these emotions up. Or something else that I do when I'm going through a deep emotion and feeling like I need to release is I'll listen to some emotional music that really aligns with what I'm feeling. Or I'll talk to a friend with very feminine, nurturing energy, and this really helps me feel safe to open up and let these things go. These are just a couple of things that I do when I'm going through this process. And you might have your own way of doing things, but you can try these out and see how they work for you when you're going through an emotion. The important thing is that we change the way that we deal with our emotions, is that we make a shift in how we handle our emotions. Because oftentimes when we are going through an emotion, our old programming starts coming up. You'll notice that your mind will start wanting to do things that distract yourself from this pain. This is old programming coming up. So it's important that we choose new habits and new things to do while we are feeling these emotions. We can choose to honor them instead of avoid them. So instead of eating food, let's just say that's your coping mechanism. Instead of eating food, choose to sit with yourself and write through these emotions. Write through whatever you are feeling. And this will help you release, help you get these emotions and this energy into the physical. And bringing this energy into the physical helps you bring it out of your subconscious. This is making the unconscious conscious into the three-dimensional world so that you can physically see this energy tangibly. And this really helps you release it. The universe operates in cycles, and so do we. We experience and go through cycles of expansion and contraction, of darkness and light. So it's important that we honor these cycles, honor these phases. And when you honor these phases within yourself and outside of yourself, you're essentially honoring the universe and all that is. You are letting go and surrendering to the divine orchestra of this universe. And this allows your true self to unfold. This allows creation to unfold by honoring spirit, by honoring earth, by honoring the elements. You are essentially letting spirit take the driver's seat, letting your higher self take the driver's seat while you are in the passenger seat co-creating with spirit. They may be in the driver's seat, but you're also co-creating with them because you have free will to also choose where to go. You are just letting spirit, you're letting the divine be the guiding light for you on your path. So when you are feeling tense or feeling stuck or stagnant in life, ask yourself, what is it that I am resisting? And the answer to this question is the answer that will start to move this energy again. It will start to break this stagnation. Whatever we are resisting in life, it is usually a feeling or an emotion that is behind this resistance. Because every experience, every situation that we go through, there is always a feeling or a sensation that comes with it. And whatever we resist, whatever we fear in this life, is usually directly connected to our desires. So when we get down to this resistance, when we start to understand this fear, we then start to understand our deepest desires. For instance, one of my biggest fears was actually talking in front of a camera. I was so afraid of making my first video. It was months I spent just meditating on this, questioning whether or not this was the right path for me. I was scared of looking weird or just sounding weird on camera. Just fear of judgment, really. Fear of being judged or criticized by others, or fear of failure, that I wasn't going to be good enough on camera. But after months and months of sitting with myself and meditating on this, I finally surrendered and recorded my first video. It was a pretty crappy video. I mean, I wasn't even looking at the camera, but this was actually what broke this stagnation. I took action and broke the resistance that I was feeling towards it. And this essentially created a new timeline for myself, because I went against my fears and I did something that I was afraid of. I took action on something that I was deeply afraid, but I also deeply desired and I was feeling called to do. But after making more videos, I started to become a lot more comfortable in front of the camera. But I still have a lot more growth when it comes to that. I want to be able to get in the flow state and not write so much down, so I can bring more channeled messages for you and connect with spirit in the flow state. And live videos is something I still deeply fear. That's something I still need to work on as well, and something I'll need to face in the future. But the important thing is that we allow ourselves to feel and experience these emotions. And it's important to remind ourselves that every emotion, every feeling is temporary, so that we can embrace it and watch it pass over like a cloud. Embrace it while it's here. And of course, there are times when it's good to shift out of these lower energies after we've done the healing and the shadow work. Shadow work is incredible, but we don't want to stay stuck in these lower energies, in this lower world. So what I'll do after I have a day or a night of shadow work and healing and feeling emotions is I'll wake up and I'll do some meditation and breath work to shift myself out of this energy into a higher state of mind and consciousness. So yeah, the main message of this video that I wanted to convey is that however deep you are in the mud, however deep you are in the cave of your own subconscious, just know, even if you don't feel it at this time, that you are being transformed. You are going through a rebirth. Think of it like you are in the womb of your mother, being nurtured. You are being nurtured by the universe. And through this transformation, you are going through a rebirth of self. The death of the old self. Your old self is being dissolved into the past. And when the time is right, you will be birthed anew. There is always a death before a rebirth. The death of the old self, the death of the old life. And with this birthing process, you will be showered in new opportunities for love, expansion, and awakening. So welcome to your new life. Welcome to the new earth. Alright guys, that's the message I wanted to share with you today. Subscribe to my channel, Soul Expansion, and hit that bell button if you want to hear more channeled messages from me in the future. I hope you all have an amazing day, an amazing week. Peace, guys.